Shabbos Daf Ayin Hey. One of the Lamatas Malachas in the Mishnah is Koreya al Manas Litvar, tearing in order to sew. Where in the Mishnah do we find this? If a worm, for instance, made a hole in one of the panels, we don't just leave it as is and sew it, we tear it even more in order to make a proper stitch. Rav Zutra heard three things from Rav at the same exact time, and they are seemingly connected. If a person takes a thread and tightens the thread in order to pull two pieces of garment together, that is considered sewing. If a person learns Torah from a magosh, what is a magosh? Machloikis, he's chayev misa. Rav says a magosh is a megadev, somebody that constantly talks about Avodah Zarah, and the concern is he'll influence you to Avodah Zarah. And we see that Rav says that if a person learns from a magosh even one thing, he's chayev misa. Obviously, he's not talking about a mechashev, a sorcerer, because it's not usher to learn from a sorcerer in order to understand what they do and how to prevent it. But it is usher to learn from Avodah Zarah. Shmuel, on the other hand, says a magosh is a mechashev, a sorcerer. And the third thing he said is that if a person knows how to calculate mazalois and tkufais, the constellations and those sort of things, and he doesn't do so, he's over on the pasuk Vespoil Hashem lo yabitu, the beautiful creations of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. They don't see u'maaseh yodav lo yiro, and they don't see his handiwork, and therefore it's usher to talk to such a person. Rabbi Yochanan says, in fact, it's a mitzvah to calculate tekufos and mazalois, as it says in the pasuk Shmat Masisim ki chochmaschem uvinaschem. This is your chachma le'enei ha'amim, towards the nations. Explains Rashi that you will know through the mazalois when it will start raining, when it will be hot, etc. One of the malachas in the Mishnah is hatzot tzvi, capturing an animal, a deer. Included in that is trapping a fish, a chilazoin, the snail that you make the tchelas from. If you squeeze the dye out of the chilazoin, you're not over on dash, according to the Tanakama, which is threshing. Dash is only in gidulei karka, something that grows from the ground. Rabbi Yehuda argues and says you could do dash even on an animal. You're not over on a tilas neshama, although you killed this snail, you're not over on a tilas neshama. Even Reb Shimon admits by psikresha that if you were to chop an animal's head off and said, I didn't mean to kill it, you know that obviously he's going to die. In this case, since he wants the snail to stay alive, it's in his benefit that the snail should continue living, since the dye will be clear, therefore it's considered a misasek, and he's potter. What is the isser to shecht an animal? According to Shmuel, it's netilas neshama. According to Rav, there's also netilas neshama, but in addition to that, there's the isser of tzeveya, of dying. Says Rav, I don't want people in future generations to make fun of me and laugh. Let me explain myself. A person would prefer to have blood on the neck of the animal by the makam shchita, so that other people will see that it's fresh meat and they'll come and they'll buy it. It says in the Mishnah, two malachas. If you salt the hide and you tan the hide. Rabbi Yochanan and Shlokish both say that those are one of the same, and therefore let's take one of those away and instead insert the malacha of misartet, of creating lines like we have in a Sefer Torah, putting lines into the hide is asur d'oraisa. Rabbi Rav Huna says, and this is explained by Rav Ashi, if you salt meat because you want to keep it for long term, you want to go on the way with it, that is ma'abed, that's tanning. Rava says there's no such thing as tanning food, and it's not asur. In the Mishnah it says smoothing out and cutting. Says Rav Acher Bar Chanina, you could be over a memachik of smoothing out if you smooth out dirt between the pillars of a building. Rishon Levi says three halachas. If you cut wood for a fence and you sharpen the top so people can't climb over, you're over on mechatich, on cutting wood in specific lengths. If you take a bandage and you put it over a wound and you have a cream and ointment and you smooth out the ointment, that is memachik. Anything that that you're doing a gemar malacha, you're finishing off the object, that's called makeh b'padish, one of the last malachas in the Mishnah. For instance, if you take a stone that's already not attached, detached from the ground, and you smooth it out, or you make a depiction on a kli, you blow glass, or if you have a garment that the small things in it, little fibers bother you, and you take them out, that's makeh b'padish. They had writing in the Mishkan, and that was just like on a sukkah panel, you write, this is 1, 2, north, south. They had the same thing on the kairos of the Mishkan. However, erasing is more stringent than writing. Writing, you need 2 ice. Doesn't matter how big the ice is. But erasing, even erasing one very large ice where you can write 2 ice, you would also be over. The Rush points out, it doesn't have to be erasing a letter, it could be erasing a glob of ink, as long as you're making room to write 2 letters. We learned in the Mishnah, these are the Avis Malachis. What is it? These are the Avis Malachis come to tell us that there aren't more than the 39 mentioned, although according to Rebbe Lezer, you're also chayiv on every tolda. If you do it together with the Av, you'd be chayiv. In addition to the Av, you'd be chayiv for the tolda. Our Mishnah holds you're chayiv 1 for the Av, and all the toldas are included in that Av. According to Rebbe Yehuda, there are an additional 2 malachas, bringing it up to 41. Shoivet and medaktik. These are malachas concerning weaving. You bring down the shesi, the erev, but we have in our Mishnah arba'im chaser achas, 1 less than 40, meaning we don't include those 2. Those 2 are included in mesach and oireg. Says the new Mishnah, there's another rule, not a large rule like the first Mishnah, not a major rule, but a rule nevertheless. And we're talking about Itzah for the next few daf. I'm talking about Itzah for a while. In order to be over on Itzah from one rishus to another rishus, it has to be an item that you typically store, and it has the right shear that you would store. If typical people don't store this, but you stored it, you yourself would be over, no one else. There's machlokes in Gemara, what's an item that people don't store? One man says dam nida, the other man says ashera tree. Another the zara tree, which is asur b'hana. The man that says dam nida certainly would agree that ashera, since it's asur b'hana, is not something people store. Although dam nida, even once you showed it to the Rav, there's no need for it at all, you could possibly feed it to a cat. Rav Papa says that's a terrible idea. The person that the dam comes from will suffer if a cat drinks that blood. And finally, our Mishnah cannot be going according to Rav Shimon Bar Yochai, who says that there's a difference between a wealthy person and a poor person in terms of the shear. Different people need different amounts, and our Mishnah argues and says everybody has the same shear. Have a wonderful day.